Hello, it's an absolute pleasure to be here today at the virtual DevOps Enterprise Summit at Las Vegas. I hope you're having a lovely time so far. I am Laksh Ranganathan, Senior Manager of Product Operations at Tasktop. And I'm thrilled to be here to talk about how we measure the right things to align to the business. I want to start with this quote, which is a constant reminder for me that just because you can measure something doesn't necessarily mean it's going to provide the answers that you need. It goes on my whiteboard quite a lot to remind me to focus on the right things, really. So how do you determine what you should be measuring? Let's take Sam here, for example. This chart gives you a sense for the miles that she has been walking over the past few weeks. Have a look at it and tell me, what do you think? How is she doing? No matter what your answer is, I suspect it's likely true because it really depends. If she's out to improve her fitness, she's doing fabulous. If her goal was to run a marathon next week, though she has done the right amount of miles, she has been walking versus what she needs is to be running, perhaps not as great. What if she was trying to prepare to climb a mountain like Kilimanjaro? That chart there doesn't quite provide all the information that you need, like what sort of elevation is she doing, which is necessary if you want to be preparing to climb a mountain. What about the weight she's carrying? Is she carrying a pack while she is preparing? And it'll give you she would have to consider those in order to be able to determine if she's really ready for that. This sort of goes to the crux of the disconnect between IT and business because they have a different view of the world. So in terms of being able to determine what's the right things to measure, you have to first look at what is the goal? What are the questions that the business needs answering? Organizations are hierarchical for a reason. As the number of people increase, you need that kind of a structure to be able to scale the operations. A consequence of that is that organizations, as they grow, become optimized for teams and functions, which is not wrong. You tend to have different departments for product management and development and testing. You have vendor dependencies, operations, and so forth. Sometimes you do have full stack teams, but that does not quite encompass every one of these operations. It's just not practical sometimes. So when it comes to providing metrics aligned to business, you have to pull together metrics from each of these functions to sort of paint that full picture. And what ends up happening is each of these metrics, though accurate, are optimized for their own context, which means that they don't quite tell the story at that business level. The business typically looks at things like, how do we satisfy our customer demand, especially when it's changing? How do we adjust and pivot to that? What sort of investments do we need to put in to provide the most value to our customers? How quickly are we delivering value? What is that rate? Notice that a lot of this focus is on the customer itself. So the question that comes up often is, how do you measure this value from that customer view? It's hard and it's difficult to articulate because it varies depending on who you ask, really. So the thing to remember is that value, when it comes to a customer, transcends across all of these functions. So in order to be able to track delivery, you have to look horizontally across the end to end. You have to put that customer lens and view it from that customer perspective, from request to release. And you can only do that if you apply a product lens, because a functional outlook or a project outlook only looks at part of the equation and doesn't quite provide that customer perspective. You can only do that with a product or a value stream lens in place. When we talk about a product value stream, by definition, it has a customer identified and it produces a product. And because of that, you tend to be able to describe value because you know who the customer is and what that product is that they consume from that particular value stream. And this is key because this also provides you clues on how to sort of measure that value through business results which are associated with them, either be it revenues, renewals, cost metrics, quality metrics, whatever that is. But you would be able to relate that back to the product and to the customer. When you think about products within IT, the one that comes to mind are business products that have an interface with your external customer. But not all products have to be external facing. In fact, a significant portion of products within an IT organization are internal facing. They serve